At 54, Luis Santiago thought his chance at happiness had passed with his wife's funeral 3 years ago. Drowning in debt and watching his daughter's college dreams slip away, he takes a job repairing storm damage at Red Barn Orchard. The owner, Anna Mercer, rolls through her apple groves in a wheelchair, fiercely protective of the land her parents left behind. What Lou sees is a proud woman holding on to memories. What he doesn't see is the quiet fortune she's built from nothing, or how she's been secretly helping his family through anonymous scholarships and surprise grocery deliveries. As autumn leaves fall and winter approaches, two wounded souls find themselves rebuilding more than broken fences and damaged trees. But when Lou discovers Anna's true identity, will he feel betrayed by her deception, or will he finally understand that some gifts come not from wealth, but from the heart? Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The morning sun cast long shadows across Luis Santiago's cramped apartment kitchen as he spread the classified ads across the scarred wooden table. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he barely noticed. Each circled advertisement represented another chance, another possibility that might pull him back from the financial cliff he'd been teetering on for months. Farm repairs needed. Experienced contractor for orchard restoration. Cedar Bluff area. Call Anna M. The phone number was written in careful script beneath the brief description. Lou rubbed his weathered hands over his face, feeling every one of his 54 years in the ache of his joints. 3 years since Maria's funeral, and he still reached for her coffee cup every morning, still expected to hear her gentle humming from the bedroom as she got ready for work at the elementary school. The silence in their apartment, his apartment, now had become a weight he carried everywhere. Maya's college acceptance letter lay beside the newspaper, its cream-colored paper a stark reminder of everything he'd destroyed with one terrible investment decision. Princeton University. Full tuition. $68,000 a year. The letter might as well have been written in gold leaf for all the good it did them now. He'd trusted his brother-in-law's real estate scheme, mortgaged everything they owned to buy into what Carlos promised would triple their money in 6 months. Instead, Carlos had disappeared with the investors' funds, leaving Lou with nothing but debt and the crushing weight of having destroyed his daughter's future. The apartment's thin walls vibrated as his neighbor started their motorcycle in the parking lot below. Lou winced, remembering when this place had been temporary, just until they saved enough for the house Maria had sketched on napkins, complete with a garden where she could grow the tomatoes her mother had taught her to tend. He dialed the number from the classified ad. Red Barn Orchard. The voice was warm but businesslike, with just a hint of an accent he couldn't place. "Ma'am, I'm calling about your ad for farm repairs." "I'm Luis Santiago. Most folks call me Lou. I run Santiago Construction, and I've got 28 years' experience in residential and commercial building. What kind of orchard experience do you have, Mr. Santiago?" Lou paused. "Honestly, none. But I've repaired everything from Victorian houses to steel warehouses. I work hard, I work clean, and I stand behind every job." There was silence on the other end, long enough that Lou wondered if she'd hung up. "Can you be here this afternoon? I'd like to meet you before winter sets in any deeper." Cedar Bluff was a 40-minute drive through rolling hills that reminded Lou of the countryside, where Maria had grown up. The October air carried the scent of wood smoke and dying leaves, and for the first time in months, he felt his shoulders relax slightly as he drove. Red Barn Orchard announced itself with a weathered wooden sign and a gravel driveway that wound between rows of apple trees. The leaves had turned brilliant shades of gold and red, and despite the obvious neglect, broken fence posts, overgrown grass between the rows, Lou could see the bones of something beautiful. A farmhouse sat at the heart of the property, a 2-story white clapboard structure with green shutters and a wraparound porch It had seen better decades. But it was solid, Lou noted with a contractor's eye. Good foundation, straight roof lines. Just needed attention. A woman emerged from the barn as he parked his pickup truck. She moved with practiced efficiency in a sleek power wheelchair, her silver-streaked brown hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She wore work clothes, denim, and flannel, but Lou noticed the quality of the fabric, the careful tailoring that spoke of money thoughtfully spent. "Mr. Santiago?" She extended a calloused hand as he approached. "Anna Mercer?" Her grip was firm, her eyes the color of sage honey, direct and assessing. Lou guessed she was close to his age, maybe 58 or 60, with the kind of presence that commanded attention without demanding it. "Thank you for coming out, ma'am. This is beautiful land." Anna's expression softened slightly. "My parents planted these trees 40 years ago, every one of them." She gestured toward the orchard with obvious pride. "They bought this place with savings from my father's job at the grain elevator and my mother's work taking in sewing. Figured if they worked hard enough, they could make something grow here." Lou nodded, understanding the weight of inherited dreams. "They succeeded. Even I can see that, and I don't know much about apple growing. Come on, let me show you what needs doing." Anna led him through the property with the efficiency of someone who knew every inch of her land. The damage was extensive storm damage. From the previous winter had taken down sections of fencing, split several mature trees, and damaged the barn's roof. A farmhouse needed new gutters, and Lou counted at least a dozen other projects that would require immediate attention before the next hard freeze. Insurance covered some of it, Anna explained as they surveyed a fallen oak that had crushed 20 feet of fence, but not enough. And finding contractors willing to drive out here for farm work has been challenging. Lou walked the fence line, testing posts, examining the damage with professional interest. The work was substantial, but straightforward nothing he couldn't handle with his crew. "You planning to sell the place?" "Never." The word came out sharp, definitive. Anna's hands tightened on her wheelchair's armrests. "This land stays in the family." There was a story there, Lou realized, but he knew better than to push. Everyone carried their own weight, and some burdens were too personal for strangers to examine. "I can do the work," he said finally. "Fair price, solid craftsmanship. But I'll be honest with you, Mrs. Mercer. Anna, I'll be honest. I'm not in a position to offer rock-bottom prices. I've got my own financial pressures right now." Anna studied him for a long moment. "What kind of pressures?" Lou hesitated. Maria had always said he wore his heart on his sleeve, and apparently widowhood hadn't changed that. "My daughter got into Princeton, and I made some very poor financial decisions that mean I can't pay for it. That's a heavy burden." "It is, but it's mine to carry." Lou straightened his shoulders. "Point is, I'll give you excellent work, but I can't work for charity rates." Anna nodded slowly. "I respect that. What would you charge for everything that needs doing before spring?" Lou had calculated the estimate on the drive over. Labor, materials, equipment rental, it was substantial work. 18,000, including materials. "I can break it into phases if that helps with cash flow. When can you start?" The ease of her acceptance surprised him. Most clients wanted 3 estimates, references, detailed contracts. Anna Mercer was either very trusting or very desperate. "Monday morning, if you're serious." "I'm serious, Mr. Santiago. This orchard is all I have left of them." Anna looked out over the rows of trees, her expression distant. "My parents never had much money, but they understood that some things matter more than profit margins. They taught me that if you're going to do something, you do it right, even if it costs more." Lou followed her gaze across the orchard. In the late afternoon light, even neglected and storm-damaged, it was beautiful. He could imagine spring mornings here, the trees heavy with blossoms, the promise of harvest in every branch. I have grandchildren, Anna continued. Emma's 12, Jake's 10. They come here on weekends, and I watch them run between these trees the same way I did when I was their age. I want them to have what my parents gave me, roots. A place that says, you belong here. Something in her voice resonated with Lou's own fears about failing Maya, about breaking the chain of opportunity that should pass from parent to child. I understand. Do you have other family, Mr. Santiago? Just Maya. She's 18, senior year of high school. Wants to study engineering. Lou's voice carried both pride and pain. She's got her mother's brains and her grandmother's stubborn streak. She find a way to college somehow, even if it's not Princeton. Anna was quiet for a moment, studying the horizon where the sun was beginning to set behind the hills. Would you like to stay for dinner? Nothing fancy, just soup and bread. But I'd like to hear more about your daughter. The invitation surprised Lou. In his experience, business relationships started with careful professional distance. But something about Anna Mercer, directness, the way she spoke about family felt genuine in a way that had become rare in his life. That's kind of you, but I should get home. Maya's cooking tonight, and she tends to worry if I'm late. Anna smiled, the first completely unguarded expression Lou had seen from her. A daughter who cooks for her father. You raised her well. Her mother did most of the raising. I just tried not to get in the way. Don't sell yourself short, Mr. Santiago. Children learn what they live. If your daughter takes care of you, it's because you showed her what care looks like. Lou felt heat rise in his cheeks. It had been a long time since anyone had spoken to him with such casual kindness, the kind that expects nothing in return. I'll see you Monday morning, then. 7 o'clock? 7 o'clock, Anna confirmed. And Mr. Santiago? Thank you for being honest about your situation. I appreciate people who don't pretend to be something they're not. As Lou drove home through the gathering dusk, he found himself thinking about Anna's words. The orchard had felt like a place where honesty mattered, where the work itself was more important than the profit margins. It had been months since he'd felt that kind of purpose in a job. Maya was waiting when he got home, textbooks spread across their small kitchen table, the smell of her grandmother's rice and beans filling the apartment. She looked up when he walked in, studying his face with the intuitive concern of a daughter who'd learned to read her father's moods. Good meeting? Yeah, Mia, I think it was. Lou kissed the top of her head, breathing in the familiar scent of her shampoo. Big job. Should keep us busy through winter. Maya smiled, and for the first time in months, Lou felt like maybe he hadn't destroyed everything after all. Maybe there were still chances to be found, even at 54, even after you thought all your chances had passed you by. The phone rang at 5:30 in the morning, jarring Lou from the first solid sleep he'd had in weeks. Unknown number, Cedar Bluff area code. Mr. Santiago, this is Anna Mercer. I'm sorry to call so early, but we have a situation. Lou sat up, instantly alert. What's wrong? Storm came through last night. Much worse than predicted. I need you to see this. An hour later, Lou stood in the middle of what had been Red Barn Orchard and felt his stomach drop. The damage was catastrophic. The storm that weather reports had called minor wind and rain had spawned a microburst that carved a path of destruction straight through the heart of Anna's property. Mature apple trees lay uprooted, their root systems exposed like broken fingers, clawing at the gray morning sky. The barn's roof had partially collapsed, metal sheeting twisted into abstract sculptures by winds that must have topped 80 miles per hour. Fence lines were completely destroyed, not just damaged, but obliterated. Power lines dangled uselessly, and a section of the farmhouse's wraparound porch had been crushed by a massive oak that must have been standing when Anna's parents first planted their trees. Anna sat in her wheelchair next to what remained of her parents' original apple tree, the one she'd shown him with such pride just days before. Now it was split down the middle, half of it lying across the gravel driveway like a fallen monument. She held a clipboard in her lap, covered with neat handwriting lists, calculations, priorities. Even in crisis, Lou realized Anna Mercer was a planner. "Insurance adjuster comes Friday," she said without looking up from her notes. "But I needed someone with construction experience to tell me the truth before then. How bad is it really?" Lou walked the property methodically, photographing damage with his phone, making notes on a pad he always carried. The systematic approach helped him process what he was seeing and what it meant. The barn was salvageable, but barely. The roof would need complete replacement, and the structural damage would require significant reinforcement. The farmhouse had lost its porch and several windows, but the foundation and main structure appeared sound. The orchard itself was the worst casualty, at least 30 mature trees destroyed, another dozen severely damaged. But it was the fence damage that made Lou's chest tighten with understanding. The property lines were completely compromised. Without immediate repairs, Anna couldn't secure the land, couldn't protect what remained of the orchard from deer, couldn't begin the long process of replanting and recovery. He found Anna where he'd left her, still making lists. "Give it to me straight," she said. Lou consulted his notes, ran calculations in his head. Barn roof, $12,000 in materials alone, probably another $8,000 in labor. Farmhouse repairs, $6,000. New fencing for the entire perimeter, $15,000. Tree removal and replanting. He stopped, seeing Anna's face pale. "Ma'am, we're looking at $60,000, maybe $70,000 of work." Anna stared at the papers in her lap for a long moment. When she looked up, her eyes were bright with unshed tears, but her voice was steady. "And if I don't do the repairs? You'll lose the orchard. Without proper fencing, the deer will destroy what trees survived. Without the barn, you have no equipment storage, no processing capability. The farmhouse, well, it's livable, but winter's coming. You need those repairs before the real cold sets in." Anna nodded slowly, as if she'd expected this answer. "The insurance will cover maybe $20,000. That leaves me," she did quick math on her clipboard, "short about $50,000. There might be emergency agricultural loans." "No," Anna's voice was firm. "I won't mortgage this place. My parents worked too hard to pay it off for me, to risk losing it to a bank." Lou found himself studying Anna's face, trying to understand the woman behind the composed exterior. She spoke about $50,000, the way most people discussed a car repair serious money, but not catastrophic. Yet she lived simply, drove an older pickup truck, wore work clothes that had clearly seen actual work. "What are you thinking?" he asked. Anna was quiet for several minutes, staring out over the devastated orchard. "My grandmother used to say that sometimes God closes doors to open windows. Maybe this is one of those times." "Meaning?" "Meaning maybe I've been holding on to something that's already gone." Anna folded her hands in her lap. "I've had offers to sell this place. Good offers. Developers want to put in a subdivision Cedar Heights or some such thing. McMansions with 3-car garages where my parents' apple trees used to grow." The thought made Lou's stomach clench. "That what you want?" "What I want and what I can afford might be two different things, Mr. Santiago." Anna's voice carried a weight of resignation that Lou recognized the sound of someone preparing to surrender something precious. "I can't ask you to work for promises. You've got your own family to think about." Lou looked around the property again, seeing beyond the immediate damage to the bones of what Anna's parents had built. Even devastated, the orchard had good soil, southern exposure, mature fruit trees that could recover with proper care. It was the kind of place that could feed a family for generations, if someone was willing to fight for it. "What if we did it in phases?" he heard himself say. "What do you mean?" "Emergency repairs first. Barn roof, fence the most critical sections, make the farmhouse secure for winter. get you through to spring, then tackle the major restoration when you've had time to figure out financing. Anna shook her head. I can't pay for the emergency work and the long-term repairs. It's one or the other. What if? Lou stopped, surprised by what he was about to suggest. What if I worked for partial payment up front, and we figured out the rest as we go? Mr. Santiago, I appreciate the offer, but I won't take charity. Not charity, investment. Lou surprised himself with the certainty in his voice. I've got my daughter's future to think about, but I also know good land when I see it. This place, fixed up right, it could be worth twice what the developers are offering. Anna studied him carefully. You're suggesting a partnership? I'm suggesting we find a way to save what your parents built. Lou met her eyes. My wife used to say that some things are too important to lose just because you can't afford them in the moment. For the first time since he'd arrived that morning, Anna smiled, really smiled, not the polite expression she'd worn during their business discussions. Your wife sounds like she was a wise woman. She was. And she would have loved this place. Lou gestured toward the orchard. She always wanted land where she could grow things. Said it was the most honest work there was. Anna looked down at her clipboard, then back at the damaged barn, the fallen trees, the work that lay ahead. If we do this, if we try to save the orchard, it won't be easy. The work will be hard, the hours long, and there's no guarantee it will work. Most things worth doing come with that disclaimer. Anna laughed, a sound that seemed to surprise her. All right, Mr. Santiago, let's see if we can save my parents' dream. They spent the next hour walking the property together, Anna's business mind and Lou's construction experience combining to create a workable plan. Emergency repairs first temporary. Fencing, a tarp roof for the barn, winterizing the farmhouse. Come spring, they'd tackle the major restoration. As they worked through the details, Lou found himself admiring Anna's quick grasp of construction realities, her ability to prioritize and problem-solve under pressure. She asked intelligent questions about materials and timelines, suggested modifications that would save both time and money. You know a lot about construction for someone in the orchard business, he observed. Anna paused in her note-taking. You pick things up over the years. My father always said the best way to avoid getting cheated by contractors was to understand their business as well as they did. It was a reasonable explanation, but Lou caught something in her tone, a hint that there was more to Anna Mercer's business experience than she was sharing. He filed the observation away, focusing instead on the immediate challenges ahead. By the time Lou left that afternoon, they had a plan, a timeline, and a partnership agreement that felt more like a handshake deal between friends than a formal business contract. He would start the emergency repairs Monday morning, working with whatever crew he could assemble on short notice. As he drove home, Lou found himself thinking about Anna's composure in the face of catastrophe, her quick decision-making, the way she'd absorbed the devastating damage assessment and immediately started planning recovery. Most people would have been overwhelmed, paralyzed by the scope of the disaster. Anna Mercer was clearly not most people. That evening, Maya listened to Lou's account of the storm damage with the focused attention she brought to her engineering textbooks. $60,000 of damage, she repeated. And she's going to try to save the orchard anyway? She's got strong feelings about keeping the land in the family. And you're going to help her, even though she can't pay full price? Lou met his daughter's eyes, seeing Maria's intuitive understanding reflected there. Sometimes you do what's right, not what's profitable, Maya smiled. Mom would have liked her. Yeah, Lou agreed. I think she would have. Neither of them mentioned the irony that Lou was offering to work for reduced payment when Maya's college fund remained empty, when they could barely afford their apartment rent. But as Lou fell asleep that night, he realized that for the first time in months, he was thinking about tomorrow's work with something approaching anticipation instead of dread. Lou arrived at Red Barn Orchard Monday morning to find Anna already at work, sorting through debris near the damaged barn. She'd managed to clear a staging area and had materials organized with military precision salvageable lumber in one pile, twisted metal in another, items for the burn pile in a third. "You're up early," Lou called as he unloaded his tools from the truck. "Habit," Anna gestured toward the sorted materials. "Figured I'd save you some time." Lou surveyed her work with professional appreciation. Most property owners stood around wringing their hands while contractors did everything. Anna had clearly spent the weekend thinking like a project manager. This helps a lot. You've got a good eye for what's worth saving. They worked through the morning in comfortable rhythm, Lou handling the heavy lifting and technical repairs, while Anna coordinated, held tools, and proved surprisingly knowledgeable about construction techniques. When his regular crew arrived after lunch, Tommy Reeves, his nephew Carlos, and Jim Henderson, who'd worked with Lou for 8 years, Anna had sandwiches waiting and knew everyone's name by the end of the day. "She's something else," Tommy commented, as they packed up tools that evening. "Most clients either hover like nervous parents or disappear completely. She finds the perfect middle ground." Lou nodded, watching Anna examine their progress on the barn roof with the careful attention of someone who understood quality workmanship. She knows what she wants and trusts people to do their jobs. It was Friday afternoon when Emma and Jake arrived for their weekend visit, and Lou got his first glimpse of Anna as a grandmother. The transformation was immediate or businesslike. Efficiency melted into warmth as 2 children spilled out of a small sedan, driven by a woman who looked enough like Anna to be her daughter. "Grandma Anna." Emma rushed to the wheelchair, careful not to jar it as she hugged Anna fiercely. Jake, more reserved but equally affectionate, leaned against Anna's shoulder and surveyed the storm damage with serious 10-year-old eyes. "It looks different," he said solemnly. "Different, but not broken," Anna replied. "Mr. Santiago and his crew are helping us fix everything." Emma, who had inherited Anna's direct gaze, studied Lou with frank curiosity. "Are you the one who's building us a new barn roof?" "Part of it," Lou said. "I've got help. Can we help too?" Lou glanced at Anna, who nodded encouragingly. "I think we might find some jobs that need 12-year-old and 10-year-old sized workers." That weekend, Lou found himself with 2 eager apprentices who approached carpentry with the enthusiasm other children brought to video games. Emma had steady hands and an engineer's mind for spatial relationships. Jake was all questions and boundless energy, but he listened carefully and followed instructions with surprising precision. Saturday afternoon, while Anna met with the insurance adjuster, Lou set the children to work sanding fence posts that would be reused in the repair work. He found himself telling them about Maya, about the time she'd insisted on helping him renovate their bathroom when she was 8 and had painted more of herself than the walls. "Does she still help you with work?" Emma asked, pausing in her sanding to brush sawdust from her dark hair. "When she can. She's busy with school now." Lou didn't mention college applications, the scholarship rejections, the careful budgeting that meant Maya worked 20 hours a week at the local grocery store on top of her studies. "Grandma Anna says education is the most important thing," Jake offered. "She helped me with my math homework last time. She's really good at numbers." Lou had noticed Anna's facility with figures, the quick mental calculations, the way she could estimate board feet and material costs without consulting. Notes. Again, he found himself wondering about her background. Orchard owners needed business sense, certainly, but Anna's skills seemed to extend well beyond agricultural management. Sunday afternoon, Lou was teaching Jake to use a hand drill when Anna rolled up beside them, watching with obvious pleasure as her grandson concentrated on keeping the bit straight and steady. "He's got good hands," Lou observed. "Takes after his grandfather," Anna said. My father could build anything with basic tools and patience. He taught me that there's no substitute for understanding how things actually work. Lou watched Jake successfully complete his first clean hole and beam with pride. Good teachers make all the difference. Yes, they do. Anna's voice carried a note that made Lou look at her more closely. Jake's having some trouble in school this year. His teacher thinks he might benefit from different learning approaches. More hands-on work, less sitting still and listening. Makes sense. Some people learn by doing. Exactly. And some people... Anna paused as Jake held up his drilled board for inspection. Some people understand the world better when they can touch it, build it, make it work with their own hands. Lou nodded approval of Jake's work, then handed him a second piece of wood. Want to try another one? As Jake set up for his second attempt, Anna continued quietly. His parents are worried about the learning differences. They think he needs tutoring, special classes. But watching him with you, I wonder if what he needs is just different kinds of challenges. Lou understood the subtext. Jake was a bright kid who didn't fit standard educational molds. Lou had seen it before children who struggled in traditional classrooms but could solve complex spatial problems, who understood mechanical relationships intuitively but couldn't sit still for lectures. There are lots of ways to be smart, Lou said. And lots of ways to make a good living using your hands and your head together. That's what I keep telling his parents. Lou spent the rest of the afternoon teaching both children basic carpentry. Skills, how to measure twice and cut once, why wood grain mattered, the satisfaction of joints that fit perfectly without forcing. Emma was methodical and precise, double-checking every measurement. Jake was intuitive, feeling his way through problems that might have stymied other children. When their mother returned Sunday evening, both children were proudly dirty, wearing work gloves that were too big for their hands, and chattering about drill bits and wood grain and the new fence posts they'd helped prepare. They've been talking about this all week. Their mother Anna's daughter, Sarah, told Lou as she loaded tired, happy children into her car. Emma wants to be an engineer now, and Jake keeps telling everyone he's going to build houses. They're good kids, Lou said. Natural helpers. After Sarah's car disappeared down the gravel drive, Anna and Lou sat on the farmhouse's repaired front steps, watching the sunset paint the orchard gold and red. The weekend's work had been productive fence posts prepped, materials sorted, and two children given their first taste of building something real. Thank you, Anna said quietly. For what? For seeing them. Really seeing them. Anna's hands rested in her lap, calloused from years of work, but graceful in their stillness. Sarah worries that Jake's differences mean he's behind somehow. But you looked at him and saw potential. Lou thought about his own childhood, the hours he'd spent with his father learning to use tools, the pride of completing projects that mattered. Every kid deserves to know they're good at something important. Yes, Anna's voice carried layers of meaning. They do. That night, Lou called Maya to tell her about his weekend teachers. You sound happy, she observed. Happier than you've been in months. It's good work, Lou said. And Anna misses Mercer. She's become a friend. Just a friend? Lou felt heat rise in his cheeks. Trust Maya to cut straight to questions he wasn't ready to examine. It's complicated, Mia. The best. Things usually are. After he hung up, Lou found himself thinking about Anna's smile when she watched her grandchildren work. The way she'd talked about different kinds of intelligence. Her obvious pleasure in seeing Jake succeed at something he understood intuitively. Anna, Mercer, was clearly a woman who thought deeply about potential in land, in children, in broken things that could be made whole again. Lou was beginning to suspect she might see potential in him as well, though he wasn't sure what to do with that possibility. That Monday morning brought the delivery of a hand-carved wooden truck that Lou had stayed up late Sunday night finishing in his apartment workshop. It was simple work, pine and sandpaper, and careful attention to detail, but Jake's face when Lou presented it to him made every minute worthwhile. "You made this for me?" Figured every construction worker needs good transportation. Jake ran his small hands over the smooth wood, testing the wheels, examining Lou's workmanship with serious attention. "It's perfect." Anna watched the exchange with an expression Lou couldn't quite read. Pleased, certainly, but something deeper. Something that looked almost like relief. "You didn't have to do that," she said later, when Jake was engrossed in creating elaborate construction scenarios with his new truck. "I wanted to." Lou was surprised by how true that was. "It's been a long time since I made something just for the joy of it." "Well," Anna said, her voice soft with something that might have been affection, "I think you've found your calling as an honorary grandfather." The words warmed Lou more than they should have, settling into the empty spaces that grief and guilt had carved in his chest. He was beginning to understand that Red Barn Orchard was offering him more than just construction work. It was offering him a chance to build something meaningful again. The old photo fell from between the pages of a water-damaged ledger as Lou cleaned debris from the farmhouse attic. Black and white, carefully preserved despite its age, it showed a young couple standing in front of the farmhouse, clearly Anna's parents on their wedding day, judging by the woman's simple dress and the man's proud, nervous smile. "Anna," Lou called down the stairs, "I found something you'll want to see." Anna made her way up using the stair lift they'd installed the previous week. Another practical improvement that she'd accepted with characteristic grace. She took the photograph with careful hands, her expression softening as she studied the young faces. 1952, she said quietly. Dad was 22. Mom was 19. They'd known each other exactly 6 months when he proposed. Lou could see Anna in both faces, her father's steady gaze, her mother's determined chin. They look happy, terrified, but happy. Anna traced her finger along the photo's edge. Dad used to say that getting married and buying this place were the 2 biggest leaps of faith he ever took. Said they both worked out because Mom was too stubborn to let either one fail. They worked together through the afternoon, Anna directing the salvage operation while Lou hauled out decades of accumulated farm records, seasonal decorations, and furniture that had seen better years. It was intimate work, sorting through the accumulated layers of a family's history. And Lou found himself learning about Anna through the objects they uncovered. Her parents had been careful record keepers' boxes of receipts, harvest logs, correspondence with agricultural extension offices. But there were also treasures, Anna's childhood drawings, school reports that showed exceptional math skills, a worn copy of Little House on the Prairie with Anna's name written inside in careful 2nd grade. Cursive. "You were a good student," Lou observed, paging through a report card that showed straight A's. Math came easy. English and history were harder work. Anna accepted a box of Christmas ornaments from Lou's hands. "My parents always said education was the key to having choices. They made sure I understood that this place was something I could come back to, not something I was stuck with." "And did you? Come back, I mean?" Anna was quiet for a moment, arranging ornaments carefully in their box. "Eventually, but not the way they expected." There was a story there, but before Lou could ask, Anna's phone rang. She answered with her usual brisk efficiency, but Lou caught the change in her tone, warmer, more personal. "Maya, how are you?" "Sweetheart?" Lou looked up sharply. Anna was talking to his daughter? "No, don't worry about that. Your father's been working incredibly hard, and I know how proud he is of you." Anna's side of the conversation continued, punctuated by warm laughter. "Of course, I'd love to meet you properly. Why don't you come for dinner this weekend?" When Anna hung up, Lou was staring at her with frank confusion. "When did you start talking to my daughter?" "She called yesterday while you were working on the barn roof. Wanted to thank me for the scholarship." "What scholarship?" Anna's composure slipped slightly. "The one for her SAT prep course." and the application fees for her backup schools, Lou felt the ground shift beneath him. Anna, what are you talking about? An anonymous donation to help local students with college preparation costs. Maya qualified, based on academic merit and financial need. Anna's voice carried the careful neutrality of someone who knew she was walking on dangerous ground. How much money are we talking about? $800. For the prep course, application fees, and some of the standardized tests she needs to take. Lou did quick math in his head. $800 was more than he made in a week. Money that Maya desperately needed, but that he couldn't provide. The generosity was overwhelming and deeply unsettling. Anna, I can't accept charity. It's not charity. It's investment. In local young people, Anna's tone was firm but gentle. Maya is exactly the kind of student these funds are meant to help. Who's funding it? Anonymous donors who believe in supporting education. Lou studied Anna's face, looking for tells, for signs of deception. But Anna met his gaze steadily, her expression completely sincere. If she was lying, she was remarkably good at it. I don't like taking money I didn't earn. You're not taking anything. Maya earned this through her academic performance and her obvious dedication to her future. Anna paused. Sometimes accepting help is harder than giving it, but it's not always about pride. Sometimes it's about letting other people experience the joy of making a difference. That evening, Lou called Maya to discuss the mysterious scholarship. Dad, it's amazing. Maya's voice bubbled with excitement. I can take the SAT 3 times instead of just once, and I can apply to 6 backup schools instead of just hoping. Princeton works out. This changes everything. You're sure it's legitimate? I checked. The foundation has been helping local students for years. Ms. Rodriguez at school says they've helped dozens of kids from our district. Lou wanted to be suspicious, but Maya's happiness was infectious. And if the scholarship was real, if it gave his daughter the chances she deserved, how could he object to that? Friday evening, Maya drove out to Red Barn Orchard for dinner, and Lou watched his two worlds collide with nervous anticipation. Maya, 18, was all sharp intelligence and restless energy, ambitious in the way only young people could be, full of plans that stretched far beyond Cedar Bluff. Anna represented something different rootedness, the long view, the satisfaction of building something meant to last. But watching them together, Lou realized his worries were unfounded. Maya and Anna connected immediately over engineering principles, discussing the mathematical complexities of orchard management, the logistics of seasonal labor, the challenge of balancing tradition with innovation. You know a lot about business systems, Maya observed, as Anna explained the coordination required for harvest and distribution. You pick things up over the years, Anna replied. But Lou caught that same evasive note he'd heard before, when Anna's expertise exceeded what seemed reasonable for a small orchard owner. After dinner, Maya helped with dishes while Lou checked on the evening's progress in the barn. When he returned, he found them deep in conversation about college applications, career planning, and the challenge of choosing between security and passion. Your father's told me how proud he is of you, Anna was saying, and I can see why. You have the kind of mind that finds solutions instead of excuses. Maya glanced toward Lou with obvious affection. He taught me that, even when everything fell apart this year, he kept working, kept trying to find a way to make things better. I know he blames himself for the college money, but watching him this past month, he's different, happier. I think this place is good. For him, it's been good for all of us, Anna agreed. Your father has given us more than just construction work. He's given us hope that broken things can be fixed. Driving Maya home that night, Lou felt something settling in his chest, a sense of pieces fitting together in ways he hadn't expected. I like her, Maya said as they drove through the quiet countryside. She's smart, and she really listens when you talk. Plus, she thinks you're amazing. She said that? She didn't have to. It was obvious. Maya was quiet for a moment. Mom would have liked her too. The words hit Lou unexpectedly hard. Maria's absence was still a daily ache, but tonight, for the first time, he could imagine her approving of the direction his life was taking. Could imagine her smiling at the sight of him, teaching Anna's grandchildren carpentry, finding purpose in work that mattered beyond the paycheck. Saturday morning brought an unexpected delivery, a truck full of premium lumber that Lou definitely hadn't ordered. The driver checked his paperwork twice before confirming the delivery address. Sign here. Bill's already been paid. Lou found Anna in the orchard, checking on the apple trees they'd been nursing back to health after the storm. Damage. Did you order $1,000 worth of oak lumber? For the farmhouse repairs. We discussed using oak for the structural work instead of pine. We discussed it. We didn't order it. And I know what oak costs. This is way over our material budget. Anna's wheelchair navigated easily between the rows of trees, a maneuver she'd clearly performed thousands of times. I found a supplier who offered a significant discount for bulk orders. How significant? 60% off retail. Lou stopped walking. Nobody gives 60% discounts unless they're going out of business or the lumber is damaged. That oak was perfect. I'm good at finding bargains, Anna said calmly. Anna, Lou's voice carried a warning. What's really going on here? Anna was quiet for a long moment, her hands resting on her wheelchair's armrests as she looked out over the orchard. I told you my parents taught me that some things matter more than profit margins. This orchard, what we're building here, it matters. And sometimes when something matters, you find ways to make the numbers work. It wasn't really an answer, but Lou could see that Anna wasn't going to provide more details. He found himself facing a choice: accept her generosity and keep building something meaningful, or let pride derail the best work he'd done in years. Just promise me one thing, he said finally. What's that? If you're stretching yourself financially for this project, tell me. I won't be responsible for you getting in over your head trying to help other people. Anna smiled, and for a moment, Lou caught a glimpse of something that looked almost like amusement in her expression. I promise you, Mr. Santiago, that I'm not getting in over my head. That afternoon, Lou worked with the premium oak lumber, crafting repairs that would last generations. Whatever Anna's secrets, whatever was behind her ability to find bargains and fund scholarships, the results were undeniable. The orchard was being restored to something beyond its original beauty, and his daughter was getting chances she deserved. Sometimes, Lou reflected as he fit perfectly milled oak joints together. Accepting grace was harder than earning it. But maybe that was part of growing older, learning that not everything good in life had to be paid for with struggle. Maybe some gifts were meant to be accepted with simple gratitude. The business magazine lay forgotten on Anna's kitchen counter when Lou came in for coffee, its glossy cover featuring a story about America's most innovative agricultural distributors. He barely glanced at it. His attention was focused on the impressive way Anna coordinated his expanded crew. Word had spread through Cedar Bluff's construction community about the quality work happening at Red Barn Orchard, and Lou now had 6 reliable workers instead of his usual 3. More impressive was watching Anna manage the expanded operation with the casual efficiency of someone who'd run large projects before. Tommy, how's the barn foundation looking? Anna asked as she moved between workstations in her wheelchair. A clipboard balanced on her lap and a radio clipped to her belt for coordinating between teams. Solid now, Tommy replied, straightening from his inspection of the reinforcement work. Lou's design for the additional support beams is perfect. This barn will outlast all of us. Anna made a note, then turned to Carlos. And the electrical, rough in for the new equipment bay? Inspector comes Thursday. Should pass no problem. Lou watched this exchange with growing admiration and puzzlement. Anna asked exactly the right questions, understood the technical answers, and anticipated problems before they became issues. She managed 6 grown men with the easy authority of someone accustomed to leadership, but without any of the posturing or micromanagement that usually came with inexperienced supervisors. "Where did you learn project management?" Lou asked during their lunch break. Anna paused in her review of supply invoices. "You pick things up when you're dealing with contractors and suppliers for 30 years. It was the same deflection she always gave, but Lou was beginning to notice the pattern. Anna's expertise consistently exceeded what seemed reasonable for someone who'd spent her career managing a small orchard. Her business instincts, her understanding of logistics, her ability to read people and situations, it all suggested a background far more complex than she'd shared. Thursday afternoon brought Maya's most important news, yet a full scholarship offer from State University's engineering program. Full tuition, Dad. 4 years, completely covered. Maya's voice on the phone was breathless with excitement. The scholarship committee said my application was one of the strongest they'd reviewed. Lou felt his knees go weak with relief. "Mia, that's incredible. When did you apply for this one?" "That's the amazing part. I didn't apply. They recruited me based on my SAT scores and my essay from the Princeton application. Apparently, the anonymous scholarship foundation that helped with my test prep recommended me to their attention." Lou looked around the orchard, where Anna was discussing drainage solutions with Jim Henderson, her technical knowledge evident in every exchange. The timing felt too convenient, the connections too neat. "Have you told Mrs. Mercer?" "I called her first. She was so excited, Dad. She said she knew good things were coming for our family." That evening, Lou waited until his crew had gone home before approaching Anna about Maya's scholarship. "She told me the good news," Anna said before Lou could speak. "I'm so proud of her. And of you. You raised a daughter who earns recognition like that." "Anna, these coincidences are starting to feel less coincidental." "What do you mean?" Lou studied her face, looking for tells. The prep course scholarship that appeared just when Maya needed it. The lumber discounts that make our budget work. Now a full ride to State University from a program that somehow knew exactly who Maya was. Sometimes good things happen to good people. And sometimes good people have guardian angels they don't know about. Anna's expression didn't change, but Lou caught the slightest tension in her shoulders. "Are you suggesting I'm somehow behind Maya's scholarship?" "I'm saying that if you were, I'd need to know, because I can't accept that kind of help without understanding what it means." Anna was quiet for a long moment, looking out over the orchard they'd spent months rebuilding together. "What if I told you that I know people who believe in investing in promising young students? People who have been blessed with resources and want to share those blessings?" "I'd say that's a beautiful sentiment, but it doesn't answer my question." Anna turned her wheelchair to face him directly. "Your question is whether I'm personally funding Maya's opportunities. Is that your answer?" "My answer is that Maya earned every opportunity she's received. Her test scores, her grades, her essays, those came from her intelligence and your guidance. If people with resources chose to invest in her potential, it's because she demonstrated that potential deserved investment." Lou felt frustration building in his chest. "You're evading again." "I'm being honest about what matters. Maya has a full scholarship to study engineering. You don't have to choose between her future and your own financial survival. Isn't that enough?" Before Lou could respond, Anna's expression shifted, becoming more personal than professional. "Luis, in my experience, the hardest thing about accepting help isn't the obligation it creates. It's admitting that you can't do everything alone." The use of his full name, spoken with gentle emphasis, caught Lou off guard. Anna rarely used anything but his preferred nickname. "This isn't about pride, isn't it?" Anna's voice was soft but challenging. "You've carried responsibility for Maya alone for 3 years. You've worked yourself to exhaustion, trying to be everything she needs. Now circumstances, whether coincidental or orchestrated, are offering you both a chance to breathe. What exactly are you afraid of? Lou found himself without an immediate answer. What was he afraid of? That accepting help diminished his worth as a father? That owing someone something he couldn't repay made him vulnerable? That letting Anna or her mysterious benefactor friends solve his problems meant admitting he'd failed? I'm afraid of. Depending on something I don't understand, he said finally. Anna nodded as if she'd expected this answer. That's fair. But consider this. You don't understand how Maya's brilliant mind works, but you trust her intelligence. You don't understand how weather patterns create the conditions for perfect apple harvests, but you trust that spring will come and the trees will bloom. Sometimes trust isn't about understanding. It's about recognizing when something good is happening and allowing it to happen. That evening, Lou and Anna shared dinner in the farmhouse's renovated kitchen, the conversation moving from Maya's scholarship to Emma and Jake's upcoming visit to plans for spring planting. Somewhere between discussing apple varieties and Jake's progress in school, the tension from their earlier conversation dissolved into the comfortable rhythm they developed over months of working together. I have something for you, Anna said, as they finished eating. She wheeled to a cabinet and returned with a manila envelope. Consider it a belated birthday present. Lou hadn't mentioned his birthday to anyone, but Anna somehow knew that he'd turned 55 the previous week. Inside the envelope was a set of architectural drawings, detailed plans for expanding his construction business to include a workshop and equipment storage facility. Anna, these are professional blueprints. This must have cost. A friend of mine is an architect. She owed me a favor. Anna's tone was casual, but Lou was learning to recognize when Anna's explanations were carefully constructed. The plans are for the lot next to your apartment complex. It's zoned for light commercial use, and the owner is looking for a long-term lease with option to buy. Lou studied the drawings with growing amazement. The design was perfect practical workspace, efficient storage, room for expansion. Someone had put serious thought into understanding his business needs and creating solutions he hadn't even known he wanted. How did you know about the lot? I noticed things. You mentioned that you needed better workshop space, and I happened to drive past that property and saw the for lease sign. This kind of architectural work costs thousands of dollars. Consider it an investment in the future of Santiago construction. You're going to need more space when your business grows. Lou looked up from the blueprints to find Anna watching him with an expression that was part professional interest, part personal affection. You're very sure my business is going to grow. I'm sure that quality work and integrity are always in demand. The rest is just logistics. Lou spent the rest of the evening studying the architectural plans, asking Anna technical questions about the design choices, discussing the practical challenges of expanding his operation. Anna's answers revealed yet another layer of unexpected expertise. She understood zoning regulations, equipment requirements, workflow optimization, and business financing with the facility of someone who'd navigated similar challenges before. You really think this could work? Lou asked as they reviewed cost projections that Anna had somehow already calculated. I think you've been underestimating what Santiago construction could become. You've got the skills, the work ethic, and the reputation. All you need is the infrastructure and the confidence to think bigger. Lou folded the blueprints carefully, feeling the weight of possibility they represented. Thank you for the plans, for believing in something I hadn't even imagined. Thank you for showing me what's possible when someone commits to doing things right, regardless of the obstacles. As Lou drove home that night, he found himself thinking about Anna's words about trust, about allowing good things to happen. The mysterious scholarships, the convenient discounts, the professional blueprints, whether coincidental or orchestrated, they were creating opportunities that seemed designed to help him build the life he'd never dared to plan. Maya was waiting. When he got home, textbooks spread across their kitchen table, but her attention focused on her laptop screen. How was dinner with Anna? Good. She had some interesting ideas about expanding the business. Maya looked up with the sharp attention she brought to anything involving their family's future. What kind of expansion? Lou showed her the architectural plans, watched her engineering mind, immediately grasped the efficiency of the design, the potential for growth it represented. Dad, this is incredible. With a setup like this, you could take on much bigger projects. Maybe even get into commercial work. Maya paused, studying the blueprints more carefully. These are really professional drawings. Anna has some well-connected friends, apparently so. Or, Maya said with a directness that reminded Lou powerfully of her mother, Anna has a background that involves more than orchard management, and she's been helping us because she sees something worth investing in. Lou met his daughters. Eyes seeing Maria's intuitive wisdom reflected there. Would that change how you feel about accepting her help? Maya considered the question seriously. I think it would make me more grateful, not less. If someone with resources chose to help us specifically, it means they see potential in our family. That's not charity, Dad. That's recognition. That night, Lou lay awake thinking about recognition, about the difference between earning help and accepting it, about the way Anna looked at him when she talked about quality work and integrity. Whatever Anna's secrets, whatever was behind her ability to solve problems and create opportunities, one thing was becoming clear. She saw something in him that he was only beginning to see in himself. Lou arrived at Red Barn Orchard Monday morning with a formal proposal typed on Santiago construction letterhead. He'd spent the weekend researching comparable properties, calculating seasonal maintenance costs, and drafting what he hoped was a professional partnership agreement. I have something for you, he said, handing Anna the document as she coordinated the day's work assignments. Anna read through the 3-page proposal with the careful attention she brought to all business matters. Lou watched her expression shift from curiosity to surprise to something that looked like pleasure. You're proposing a 5-year maintenance contract for the entire property, she said, with seasonal staff expansion for harvest and storm recovery. I'm proposing that Santiago Construction become the orchard's exclusive maintenance and improvement contractor. Guaranteed response time, preset pricing for common repairs, scheduled upgrades to keep everything in top condition. Anna set the proposal on her lap, looking out over the property they'd transformed together. The barn stood solid and weatherproof, its new roof gleaming in the morning sun. Fresh fencing defined clean property lines, and the farmhouse looked like something from a magazine spread about successful rural renovation. This is a significant commitment, Anna said, for both of us. I've been thinking about what you said regarding quality work and long-term planning. This orchard is worth maintaining properly, and I want to be the one who does it, even though I can't pay premium rates. Lou had anticipated this question. The contract includes a graduated payment structure. Base rates now increasing as the orchard's productivity improves. By year 5, he'd be paying full market rates, but by then the property improvements should have increased your yield enough to support those costs. Anna studied the proposal again, her business mind clearly working through implications and possibilities. You've thought this through carefully. I have, because I want this to work, Anna. Not just the orchard, but this partnership. What we've built here, it's something worth preserving. The word partnership hung in the air between them, carrying layers of meaning that extended beyond business arrangements. Anna looked up from the contract to meet Lou's eyes directly. Are we still talking about construction work? Lou felt heat rise in his cheeks. We're talking about building something that lasts. Anna was quiet for a long moment, her hands resting on the contract pages. Luis, there are things about my situation that you don't know. Things that might change how you feel about this partnership. Such as? such as the fact that I'm not entirely honest about my financial circumstances. Lou's stomach tightened. Meaning you can't afford this work? Meaning I can afford much more than I've let you believe. Before Lou could respond, Anna's expression shifted, becoming more vulnerable than he'd ever seen her. The truth is, I've been financially comfortable for a very long time. Comfortable enough that cost isn't really a consideration for projects like this. Then why? Because I wanted to see who you were when you thought I couldn't pay premium prices. I wanted to know if you'd still do quality work, still treat me with respect, still see the value in saving this place when you thought I was just another struggling farmer. Lou processed this information slowly. You were testing me. I was protecting myself. Anna's voice was steady but soft. When you have resources, it becomes difficult to know whether people see you or just see what you might do for them. I needed to know who Luis Santiago was when he had nothing to gain from impressing me. And now you know? Anna smiled, the expression transforming her face. Now I know that you're exactly who you appeared to be from the beginning, someone who does right by people, regardless of what they can give you in return. Lou felt relief and frustration in equal measure. So the financial struggles, the careful budgeting, the need to phase repairs, all of that was performance? The need to rebuild the orchard was real. The sentimental value of preserving my parents' legacy was real. The desire to create something meaningful with someone I trusted, that was completely real. But you could have hired anyone. You could have. Had this place restored by the most expensive contractors in the state, I could have. But I wouldn't have had the satisfaction of watching you teach Jake carpentry, or seeing you understand immediately why this place mattered to me, or knowing that every improvement was made by someone who cared about quality for its own sake. Lou walked to the edge of the farmhouse porch, looking out over the orchard they'd spent months rebuilding together. The revelation reframed everything Anna's expertise, her quick decisions, her ability to solve logistical problems with apparent ease. How comfortable are we talking about? He asked, comfortable enough that money isn't a practical limitation for anything we might want to do here. Lou turned back to Anna, studying her face for signs of the deception he now realized had been present all along. But what he saw was the same direct gaze, the same genuine warmth that had drawn him to her from the beginning. Are you going to tell me how you became comfortable? If you want to know, I want to know. Anna took a deep breath. I started a business 30 years ago. It grew beyond anything I'd expected. I sold my majority stake 5 years ago, but I retained enough involvement to remain financially secure. What kind of business? Food distribution. Starting with regional grocery supply and expanding into nationwide logistics. Lou felt pieces clicking into place. That's why you understand supply chains, project management, logistics coordination. That's why I can afford to help promising young students with college expenses. Why I have connections with architects and contractors. Why finding discounts on materials isn't actually difficult. And why you've been secretly funding Maya's opportunities. Anna met his eyes without flinching. Yes, Lou felt anger rising, not at Anna's generosity, but at his own blindness. How much, Anna? How much have you spent on my family? Does it matter? Yes, it matters. I need to know what I owe you. You don't owe me anything. Every decision I made was because I wanted to make it, not because I expected anything in return. How much? Anna sighed. The prep course and application fees were $800. The state university scholarship was $40,000 over 4 years. The lumber discounts represented about $3,000 in actual cost to me. Lou did quick math, feeling sick. $44,000. You've spent $44,000 on my family. I've invested $44,000 in people I believe in. Anna, I can't accept that. I won't accept that. Then you'll have to tell Maya she needs to turn down her full scholarship and find another way to pay for college. The words hit Lou like a physical blow. Maya's excitement, her relief, her joy at having her future secured, all of it would be destroyed. If Lou's pride forced her to reject the scholarship. That's not fair. Life rarely is. But this situation isn't about fairness, Louise. It's about whether you can accept that someone sees value in your family and wants to invest in that value. Lou sat heavily on the porch steps, his head in his hands. I don't know how to handle this. Anna maneuvered her wheelchair closer, her voice gentle. The same way you've handled everything else. With integrity and gratitude and the understanding that accepting help doesn't diminish your worth. It feels like charity. It is charity in the truest sense of the word. Charity means love in action. I care about you and Maya, and I have the resources to help ensure your family has the opportunities you deserve. That's not pity or obligation. It's affection expressed in practical terms. Lou looked up at Anna, seeing her clearly for perhaps the first time. Not the struggling orchard owner he'd imagined, but a successful businesswoman who'd chosen to help his family because she saw something worth supporting. Why us? Why me and Maya? Because you remind me that integrity still exists. Because watching you work, seeing how you treat people, observing your relationship with Maya, it gives me hope that there are still people in the world who do right by others regardless of personal cost. And because you care about me. Anna's smile was answer enough. That evening, Anna's lawyer arrived for what she described as routine business. But Lou suspected the meeting was anything but routine. Richard Chun was clearly expensive legal counsel, perfectly tailored suit, efficient manner, the kind of professional presence that came with high-stakes corporate work. Mr. Santiago, Chun said as Anna introduced them. Mrs. Mercer speaks very highly of your work here. Thank you. I understand you've proposed a long-term maintenance contract for the property. Lou glanced at Anna, wondering how much she'd shared with her attorney. A 5-year agreement, subject to annual review. Excellent. Mrs. Mercer has asked me to draft a formal partnership agreement that would expand the scope of your proposed contract. What kind of expansion? Anna answered before Chun could speak. The kind that would make Santiago Construction the primary contractor for all my property investments in this region. Your property investments? I own several other properties that need ongoing maintenance and renovation. Residential and commercial holdings that could provide steady work for an expanded construction business. Lou felt the ground shifting beneath him again. How many properties? Enough to keep Santiago Construction busy for years, if you're interested. Chun opened his briefcase and removed a thick folder. Mrs. Mercer has outlined a comprehensive business arrangement that would provide guaranteed contracts, equipment financing, and facility expansion funding for Santiago Construction. In exchange for what? Exclusive maintenance and renovation services for Mrs. Mercer's property portfolio. Think of it as a partnership between Anna's investment holdings and your construction expertise. Lou accepted the folder with hands that weren't entirely steady. This is moving very fast. It doesn't have to, Anna said quickly. Take the proposal home. Review it with Maya. Take as long as you need to decide. What if I say no? Then nothing changes. We continue with the original orchard maintenance arrangement, and you build your business at whatever pace feels comfortable. And Maya's scholarship? Maya's scholarship exists independently of any business arrangement between us. That was a gift, not a transaction. Lou looked between Anna and her expensive lawyer, understanding that his answer would determine not just his business future, but the entire trajectory of his family's life. I'll review the proposal. That's all I ask, Anna said. Just remember that some opportunities come disguised as offers that seem too good to be true. Sometimes the challenge isn't recognizing opportunity, it's having the courage to accept it. That night, Lou spread the partnership proposal across his kitchen table and called Maya to explain the day's revelations. Maya listened without interruption as Lou described Anna's true financial situation, the scope of her generosity, and the business opportunity she was offering. So Anna is essentially offering to make you her personal contractor for a portfolio of properties that could make Santiago construction a major regional business, Maya summarized. That's about the size of it. And you're hesitating because? Because it feels like accepting charity dressed up as business. Maya was quiet for a moment. Dad, what if it's actually business dressed up as generosity? What if Anna sees genuine value in what you do and wants to create a partnership that benefits both of you? What do you mean? I mean, Anna is a successful businesswoman who's watched you work for months. She's seen your craftsmanship, your ethics, your reliability. Maybe she's offering this partnership not because she wants to help you, but because she wants to secure the best contractor she knows for her own properties. Lou considered this perspective, trying to see the arrangement through Anna's eyes, rather than his own insecurities. Either way, Maya continued, this could be exactly what our family needs. A chance for you to build the business you've always been capable of, and security for both of us. You really think I should accept? I think you should stop assuming that good things happening to us must be too good to be true. Maybe we've just finally met someone who recognizes what I've always known, that Luis Santiago is worth investing in. After hanging up, Lou sat alone in his kitchen, surrounded by architectural plans and partnership proposals that represented more opportunity than he'd ever imagined possible. Outside his apartment window, Cedar Bluff slept peacefully under a star-filled sky, and somewhere across town, Anna Mercer was probably planning their next project with the same methodical care she brought to everything that mattered to her. The first time in years, Lou allowed himself to imagine a future that extended beyond survival, beyond making do with whatever work he could find. He imagined Santiago construction with proper facilities, reliable contracts, the resources to take on projects that mattered. He imagined Maya graduating debt-free from State University, building the engineering career she'd dreamed of since childhood. He imagined himself as Anna's partner in more than just business, building something together that would last longer than either of them. The thought scared him almost as much as it excited him. But maybe, Lou reflected as he carefully organized the partnership documents, being scared of good things wasn't reason enough to reject them. Maybe accepting Anna's offer was simply another form of faith that he deserved the opportunities she was creating. Faith that their partnership could be built on mutual benefit rather than one-sided charity. Maybe it was time to stop protecting himself from hope and start building the future Anna seemed so certain he could create. Lou was replacing the hinges on the farmhouse's front door when he noticed the magazine lying open on Anna's kitchen counter. He'd gone inside for a glass of water and was heading back to work when the headline caught his eye. America's Agricultural Revolutionaries. How these business leaders changed food distribution forever. The article featured a full-page photograph of a woman standing in front of a massive distribution center, arms crossed, looking directly at the camera with calm confidence. Lou recognized the posture, the direct gaze, the aura of quiet authority. He recognized Anna. The caption read, Anna Mercer, founder and former CEO of Heartland Distribution Networks, revolutionized regional food supply chains before selling her company for $840 million in 2019. Lou's hands went numb. The magazine slipped from his fingers, clattering to the kitchen floor as he stared at the photograph of the woman he'd been rebuilding fences with for 6 months. The woman who'd carefully budgeted lumber costs and accepted his modest payment plans. The woman who'd found discounts and new people who could help with scholarships. $840 million. Luis? Anna's voice came from the doorway. Is everything all right? Lou turned to face her, the magazine at his feet like evidence in a crime scene. Heartland Distribution Networks. Anna's expression didn't change, but Lou saw her hands tighten. on her wheelchair's armrests. You found the Forbes article. $840 million, Anna. Actually, it was closer to $900 million after the final negotiations, but Forbes rounded down for simplicity. Lou felt reality reorganizing itself around this new information. Every conversation they'd had, every careful discussion about budgets and payment schedules, every moment he'd worried about Anna's ability to afford his work, all of it had been based on a fundamental lie. You're a billionaire. I retain a significant stake in the company I built, yes. And you let me believe you're struggling to pay for orchard repairs. Anna maneuvered her wheelchair into the kitchen, her movements careful, controlled. I let you believe what you assumed. I offered to work for reduced rates because I thought you couldn't afford full price. And I accepted your offer because it allowed me to see who you were when you thought I had nothing to give you. Lou felt anger building in his chest, not just at the deception, but at his own blindness. How long were you planning to keep lying to me? I wasn't lying. I never claimed to be poor. I never said I couldn't afford your work. You made assumptions, and I didn't correct them. That's the same thing as lying. Anna's composure finally cracked slightly. No, Luis, it's not. Lying would have been creating a false story about my circumstances. What I did was allow you to form your own conclusions without providing information you didn't ask for. Information I didn't ask for? Lou's voice rose. I told you about Maya's college fund, about my financial struggles, about taking this job because I was desperate for work. And you sat there letting me pour my heart out while you could have written a check for Maya's entire education without even noticing the expense. Would that have been better? Should I have solved all your problems with money and eliminated any chance of knowing whether you respected me for who I am or what I could provide? Lou stared at her, feeling the ground shift beneath everything he thought he understood about their relationship. Who are you, Anna? Really? Anna was quiet for a long moment, her hands folded in her lap as she looked out the kitchen window toward the orchard they'd rebuilt together. I'm the daughter of farmers who taught me that the value of work isn't measured by the money it generates. I'm someone who built a business from nothing because I understood that food distribution was about connecting people with sustenance, not just moving products for profit. I'm a woman who sold that business when it became so large that I was managing spreadsheets instead of solving real problems. She turned back to face Lou. And I'm someone who's been alone for most of her adult life because people see my financial success and either want something from me or feel diminished by comparison. So you decided to trick me into a relationship? I decided to give us both a chance to know each other without money complicating everything. Lou felt his anger crystallizing into something harder, more painful. Everything's been a lie. The careful budgeting, the phases of work, the grateful acceptance of my payment plans, all of it was performance. The gratitude was real. The appreciation for your craftsmanship was real. The growing feelings between us were real. How can I believe that when everything else was deception? Anna's eyes filled with tears, but her voice remained steady. Because you know me, Luis. You've worked beside me for 6 months. You've seen how I treat people, how I care for my grandchildren, how I honor my parents' memory. The only thing I concealed was my bank balance. Your bank balance that could have solved every problem I've worried about for the past 3 years. Yes, and if I'd led with that information, would you have fallen in love with me, or with what I could do for your family? The question hit Lou like a physical blow. Love. Anna had used the word love, and despite his anger, despite feeling manipulated and foolish, Lou realized it was accurate. Somewhere between teaching Jake carpentry and sharing quiet dinners in the farmhouse kitchen, he had fallen in love with Anna Mercer, which made the deception feel even more devastating. I don't know, he said honestly. I don't know what I would have felt if I'd known the truth from the beginning. Exactly? And that's why I couldn't tell you. Lou picked up the magazine from the floor, staring at the photograph of Anna in her corporate environment expensive suit, polished setting, the unmistakable aura of serious wealth and power. She looked like a different person, someone who belonged. In boardrooms and business conferences, not on a rural orchard teaching children about apple trees. Which one is real? He asked. The successful CEO or the grandmother who rolls around an orchard in a wheelchair? Both. Neither. I don't know anymore. Anna's voice carried a weariness that Lou hadn't heard before. I spent 30 years building Heartland Distribution because I believed business could be a force for good. I sold it because it had grown beyond my ability to maintain that vision. I bought this orchard because I wanted to return to something simple, something connected to the land my parents loved. And I was what, a project? A way to experience how normal people live? You were a man doing honest work who treated me with respect and kindness. You were someone who saw value in preserving what my parents built. You were... Anna stopped, her composure finally breaking completely. You were the first person in years who made me feel like Anna instead of like a bank account with legs. Lou looked at Anna, really looked at her, and saw past his anger to the vulnerability beneath her words. But the hurt was too fresh, the sense of betrayal too complete. I need to think about this. Of course you do. I need to understand what any of this means for Maya, for the scholarship, for the work we've done here. Maya's scholarship is secure, regardless of what happens between us. The orchard maintenance contract stands as originally written. You don't owe me anything, Louis. Not money, not gratitude, not continued friendship. Lou stood in Anna's kitchen, surrounded by the evidence of their months working together, photos of the reconstruction progress, Emma and Jake's drawings taped. To the refrigerator, the comfortable domesticity they'd built around their partnership. None of it felt real anymore. I should go. Will you come back? Lou met Anna's eyes, seeing the fear there, the recognition that her deception might have cost her something precious. I don't know. He left the farmhouse without finishing the tea, door repairs, drove home through countryside that no longer felt peaceful, and found Maya waiting in their apartment with homework spread across the kitchen table and worry creased across her forehead. You look terrible, she said. What happened? Lou handed her the Forbes magazine. Anna Mercer isn't exactly who we thought she was. Maya read the article twice, her expression shifting from surprise to understanding to something that looked like admiration. $800 million, she said finally. That's what I said. Dad, this is incredible. Anna is one of the most successful business leaders in the country, and she chose to spend her time rebuilding an orchard with you. She lied to me, Maya. For 6 months, she let me believe she was struggling financially, while she could have bought and sold my entire business without thinking about it. Maya studied the photograph of Anna in her corporate setting, then looked up at Lou with the direct gaze she'd inherited from her mother. Did she lie? Or did she just not tell you everything about herself? What's the difference? The difference is whether she was trying to deceive you or trying to protect something precious. Lou stared at his daughter. Whose side are you on? I'm on the side of truth. And the truth is that Anna Mercer Billionaire CEO Anna Mercer saw something in our family worth investing in. Not because she pitied us, but because she recognized value that maybe we hadn't seen in ourselves. She made me feel like a fool. She made you feel worthy of love from someone who could have anyone. There's a difference. That night, Lou lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation he'd had with Anna, re-examining every moment through the lens of what he now knew about her true circumstances, the careful questions about his business challenges, the expertise that had seemed remarkable for an orchard owner, the connections and resources that had appeared whenever needed. All of it made sense now. All of it painted a picture of someone who'd been carefully, methodically ensuring that he and Maya had opportunities they deserved while maintaining the fiction that she was just another small business owner struggling with storm damage. Question that kept him awake wasn't whether Anna had deceived him. She clearly had. The question was whether that deception was an act of cruelty or an act of love, and whether he could forgive her for making him fall in love with someone who might not actually exist. Lou didn't return to Red Barn Orchard for 3 days. Instead, he threw himself into completing a bathroom renovation for Mrs. Chun downtown, working with the focused intensity of someone trying to avoid thinking about anything beyond grout lines and tile spacing. It was Tommy who finally forced the conversation Lou had been avoiding. "You planning to finish Anna's door hinges any time this decade?" Tommy asked as they loaded tools into Lou's truck Wednesday evening. "I'm thinking about it." "While you're thinking, she's been calling the office every day asking if you're okay, if you need anything, if there's something she can do to help." Lou felt his jaw tighten. "She can help by being honest about who she is." "Lou, I've worked construction for 22 years. I've dealt with every kind of client. There is the ones who micromanage every nail, the ones who disappear until it's time to complain about the bill, the ones who change their minds daily about what they want." Tommy leaned against the truck's tailgate. "Anna Mercer is the best client I've ever worked for. She knows what she wants. She trusts us to do our jobs. She pays promptly and fairly, and she treats everyone with respect. She's also a billionaire who let me think she was struggling to afford basic repairs. And that changes the quality of her character. How exactly?" Lou didn't have a good answer for that question, which irritated him further. Thursday brought Maya's phone call. The conversation Lou had been dreading since discovering Anna's true identity. "I heard you haven't been back to the orchard," Maya said without preamble. "News travels fast in small towns. Emma called me. She wanted to know why Uncle Lou stopped coming to see them." Lou felt guilt twist in his stomach, and his anger at Anna. He'd forgotten about Emma and Jake, about the relationship he'd built with Anna's grandchildren over months of weekend carpentry lessons. "It's complicated, Mia." "Is it?" "Because from where I sit, it looks like you're punishing Anna for having money. I'm processing the fact that someone I trusted lied to me for 6 months about her bank balance, not about who she is as a person." Lou found himself without a ready response. Maya had inherited her mother's ability to cut straight to the heart of uncomfortable truths. "Dad, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I keep coming back to one question. If Anna had told you on day one that she was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, would you have treated her the same way?" "Of course I would have." "Really? You wouldn't have been more formal, more careful, more conscious of the gap between your circumstances and hers?" Lou paused, forced to consider the question honestly. "Maybe a little more careful. Maybe you wouldn't have taught Jake carpentry, or shared personal stories about Mom, or felt comfortable offering suggestions about orchard management. Maybe not. And maybe Anna wouldn't have gotten to see who Luis Santiago really is, not the version of yourself you present to wealthy clients, but the man who does excellent work because it matters to him, who treats everyone with respect, regardless of what they can do for him." Lou sat heavily on his apartment's small couch, feeling the weight of Maya's logic. "She still should have told me." "When?" "After the first week when you were still strangers? After the first month when you'd started to become friends? After you fell in love with her, but before she knew if you'd fallen in love with her money? She knew I was struggling financially. She knew I was worried about your college fund. And she fixed those problems without making you feel like a charity case. Dad, Anna gave us opportunities while letting you maintain your dignity. That's not deception, that's grace." After Maya hung up, Lou sat alone in his apartment, surrounded by the architectural plans and partnership proposals Anna had given him. The documents represented more opportunity than he dreamed possible, but now they felt like artifacts from a relationship he no longer understood. Friday morning brought an unexpected visitor. Emma stood outside Lou's apartment door, having somehow convinced her mother to drive her across town before school. Uncle Lou? Emma's voice was small, uncertain. Did we do something wrong? Lou knelt to her eye level, feeling his heart break. No, sweetheart. You and Jake didn't do anything wrong. Then why don't you come see us anymore? Grandma Anna says. You're busy with other work, but Jake thinks you don't like us. I like you and Jake very much. This isn't about you two. Is it about Grandma Anna being rich? Lou studied Emma's serious 12-year-old face. How much do you know about that? I know she has lots of money from her old business. I know she buys things for people sometimes, like when Mrs. Patterson needed help fixing a roof after the storm. I know she doesn't like talking about it, because some people act weird when they find out. Act weird how? Some people get really nice all of a sudden, like fake nice. And some people get mad, like having money is something bad she did on purpose. Lou felt shame wash over him. From Emma's perspective, he'd become one of those people who acted weird about Anna's wealth. Jake made you something, Emma continued, pulling a small wrapped package from her backpack. He wanted to give it to you himself, but Mom said we couldn't bother you at work. Lou unwrapped Jake's gift carefully. Inside was a carved wooden apple, painted red with careful 10-year-old precision. A note in Jake's handwriting read, "For Uncle Lou from his best helper. I hope you come back soon." Lou had to swallow hard before he could speak. Tell Jake this is beautiful work. Tell him I'm proud of how much he's learned. Will you tell him yourself? Tomorrow's Saturday. We're supposed to help Grandma Anna plant new apple trees. Emma, it's complicated between your grandmother and because she has money? Because she didn't tell me about the money. Emma considered this with the seriousness she brought to math problems and book reports. Uncle Lou, if someone asked you how much money you have, would you tell them? That's different. How? Lou found himself struggling to explain the distinction to a 12-year-old. It just is. Grandma Anna says grown-ups sometimes make things complicated that don't need to be complicated. Emma's voice carried the patient tone of someone explaining something obvious. She says what matters is how people treat each other, not how much money they have in the bank. After Emma left, Lou spent the morning walking through Cedar Bluff's downtown, thinking about complications and simplicities, about dignity and deception, about the difference between privacy and dishonesty. He found himself at the public library, using their computer to research Heartland distribution networks. What he discovered was both illuminating and humbling. Anna had built her company from a single truck and a contract to deliver produce to regional grocery stores. Over 30 years, she'd grown it into a nationwide operation that specialized in connecting small farmers with major retailers, ensuring fair prices for producers, while keeping food costs reasonable for consumers. The business articles painted a picture of someone who'd revolutionized agricultural distribution, not for profit alone, but to solve real problems in food access and farmer sustainability. Anna had been featured in Harvard Business Review for her innovative approach to supply chain ethics, profiled in Fortune for her commitment to environmental sustainability, and recognized by the USDA for her work supporting small agricultural operations. She'd sold the company, according to one interview, because it had grown so large that she felt disconnected from its original mission. I started Heartland to help farmers and communities, she'd said. When I found myself spending more time in boardrooms than understanding the real challenges our partners faced, I knew it was time to step back. Lou read about Anna's post-sale activities with growing understanding. She'd established scholarship funds at 3 universities, funded infrastructure improvements in rural communities, and quietly supported dozens of small businesses through low-interest loans and business mentoring. The woman described in these articles wasn't someone who'd accidentally stumbled into wealth. She was someone who'd built success deliberately and used it purposefully to address problems she cared about, and she'd chosen to spend her semi-retirement rebuilding an orchard with a struggling contractor because she saw value in preserving her parents' legacy, and possibly because she saw something worth preserving in him as well. Saturday morning, Lou woke to the sound of rain against his apartment windows and the knowledge that he'd been an ass. Not because Anna had deceived him, but because he'd let his wounded pride override everything else he knew about her character. The handwritten letter arrived that afternoon, delivered by a service that clearly cost more than Lou spent on groceries in a month. Anna's careful script covered 3 pages of expensive stationery, and Lou read it twice before the full meaning settled. "Luis," it began, "I've been thinking about our conversation, about the hurt I've caused by not being completely honest about my circumstances. You're right to feel deceived, and you're right to question whether our relationship was built on false foundations. Let me tell you what I should have told you months ago. I am Anna Catherine Mercer, daughter of Robert and Helen Mercer, who bought Red Barn Orchard in 1952 with savings from jobs that paid barely enough to survive. I am the founder of Heartland Distribution Networks, which I built from nothing because I believed business could be a force for good in the world. I am a woman worth more money than I can spend in several lifetimes, who sold her company because it grew beyond her ability to maintain her original vision. I am also someone who has been alone for most of her adult life, because wealth creates barriers that are almost impossible to bridge honestly. People see what I can provide rather than who I am, and I've learned to protect myself by sharing only what feels safe. When you answered my classified ad, you saw work that needed doing and land worth preserving. You didn't see opportunity for personal gain or assume I owed you anything beyond fair payment for honest work. For the first time in years, I was just Anna, not Anna Mercer of Heartland Distribution, not Anna the potential donor, not Anna who might solve your problems if you treated her well enough. I should have told you about my financial circumstances before our relationship became personal. I should have trusted that you would see me as the same person regardless of my bank balance, but I was afraid that knowledge of my wealth would change how you looked at me. Afraid that you would start seeing obligations where I wanted to offer gifts. Afraid that money would complicate something that felt beautifully simple. You asked me which version of myself is real, the CEO or the grandmother rolling around an orchard. The answer is both and neither. I am someone who built a successful business and someone who finds joy in watching her grandchildren learn carpentry. I am someone who can afford anything and someone who values the things that can't be bought. I am someone who made mistakes in how I handled our relationship and someone who loves you enough to accept the consequences of those mistakes. I won't ask you to forgive my deception, but I will ask you to consider this. Everything between us was real except the financial constraints I allowed you to assume. My respect for your work, my appreciation for your character, my growing feelings for you, all of that was completely genuine. The scholarship I arranged for Maya was real investment in a brilliant young woman who deserves every opportunity. The help I provided with materials and connections was real support for a business partnership I believed could benefit both of us. The love I've come to feel for you is the most real thing I've experienced in years. If you can find a way past my failure to be completely honest, I would like the chance to rebuild our relationship on a foundation of complete truth. If you can't, I understand, and I'll honor whatever boundaries you need to establish. Either way, please know that knowing you and Maya has reminded me that the best things in life, integrity, kindness, family love, can't be purchased. They can only be earned through the daily choice to do right by the people who matter. With love and regret, Anna. Lou read the letter a 3rd time, then set it aside and called his crew. Tony, it's Lou. I need the boys to meet me at Red Barn Orchard tomorrow morning. We have door hinges to finish. Does this mean you're done being stubborn? This means I'm ready to have a conversation with someone who matters to me. About time. That evening, Lou sat at his kitchen table with Maya, showing her Anna's letter and sharing his decision to return to the orchard. I'm proud of you, Maya said simply. For what? For remembering that love is more important than pride. Your mother used to say that. She was a smart woman. She would have liked Anna. Yeah, Lou agreed, looking out his apartment window toward the countryside where Anna was probably planning tomorrow's work with the same methodical care she brought to everything important. I think she would have. Sunday morning, Lou arrived at Red Barn Orchard to find Anna waiting on the farmhouse porch, clearly prepared for whatever conversation they needed to have. She looked older somehow, more fragile, as if the stress of their separation had taken a visible toll. Thank you for coming, she said simply. Thank you for the letter, for the honesty. It should have come sooner. Lou sat on the porch steps, noting the unfinished door hinges, the small tasks that had been left undone during his absence. Anna, I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer completely honestly. All right. Are you planning to sell Heartland Distribution permanently and focus on smaller projects like this orchard? Anna's expression shifted to surprise. That's not what I expected you to ask. It's what I need to know before we figure out what comes next. Anna was quiet for a moment, looking out over the orchard where new apple trees waited to be planted. Yes, I've already begun the process of selling my remaining stake in the company. I want to focus on projects that matter to me personally, preserving places like this, supporting young people like Maya, building relationships that aren't complicated by business considerations. And where do I fit in that plan? Wherever. You want to fit, Lois, as my contractor, my business partner, my friend. Anna paused, her voice becoming softer. As something more, if you think we can rebuild the trust I damaged. Lou looked at Anna, really looked at her, and saw not the billionaire CEO from the magazine cover, but the woman who'd taught Emma patience and Jake confidence, who'd shared quiet dinners and late-night conversations about dreams and disappointments. Think, he said carefully, that we should finish planting those apple trees. And then we should talk about what we're building here that has nothing to do with money. Anna's smile was worth more than all the wealth she'd accumulated in 30 years of business success. I think that sounds like exactly the right place to start. Lou arrived at Red Barn Orchard Monday morning to find cars in the driveway, expensive cars with government plates and the kind of sleek efficiency that suggested important business. Anna's lawyer, Richard Chun, stood on the farmhouse porch with 2 other men in expensive suits. Documents spread across a portable table. Anna sat in her wheelchair facing the men, her expression composed but tense. When she saw Lou's truck, relief flickered across her face before she returned her attention to the legal discussion. Mrs. Mercer, one of the suits was saying as Lou approached, the offer represents fair market value, plus a significant premium for the development potential. Meridian Holdings is prepared to close within 30 days. And I've told you that the property isn't for sale. Anna replied firmly. Lou recognized the tone, the same polite but unmovable resolve. Anna brought to discussions about using inferior materials or cutting corners on structural work. Perhaps Mr. Santiago should hear the details, Chun suggested, nodding toward Lou. Given his investment in the property improvements, the lead suit, a man who looked like he'd never been within 50 miles of an actual farm, turned to Lou with practiced charm. Mr. Santiago, I'm David Morrison from Meridian Holdings. We're prepared to offer Mrs. Mercer $3.2 million. For this property, significantly above current agricultural land values. Lou felt the number hit him like a physical blow. $3 million. For the orchard they'd spent months rebuilding, for the land Anna's parents had bought with savings from blue-collar jobs. That's generous, Lou said carefully. It is. And Mrs. Mercer would, of course, be free to purchase comparable agricultural land elsewhere with the proceeds. Our development plans would create 250 new homes, bringing significant economic development to Cedar Bluff. Lou looked at Anna, trying to read her expression. She met his eyes steadily, but he caught the tension in her shoulders. the way her hands gripped her wheelchair's armrests. Mrs. Mercer, Morrison continued, I understand the sentimental value of family land, but surely practical considerations must take priority. The property taxes on land valued at this level will become substantial. The ongoing maintenance costs for a working orchard are significant. And at your age, with your physical limitations. My physical limitations, Anna interrupted, her voice carrying a warning edge, don't affect my ability to make sound business decisions. Morrison had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. Of course not. I simply meant that managing agricultural property requires physical oversight that might become challenging. Mrs. Mercer has a management partner for the orchard operations. Chun interjected smoothly. Mr. Santiago's construction company handles all property maintenance and improvement. Morrison turned to Lou with renewed interest. I see. And what's your position on this sale, Mr. Santiago? Surely the commission on a $3.2 million property transaction would be significant for a local contractor. Lou felt everyone's attention focus on him. Anna watched his face carefully, and Lou realized that his answer mattered more than the money involved. I don't work on commission, Lou said. I work to build things that last. But surely you can appreciate the economic opportunity. What I appreciate, Lou interrupted, is clients who know the difference between price and value. Morrison's professional smile tightened slightly. Mrs. Mercer, perhaps you'd like some time to discuss this with your advisors privately. We can reconvene this afternoon. There's nothing to discuss, Anna said. The property isn't for sale. Mrs. Mercer, I hope you'll reconsider. Meridian Holdings has developed several successful communities in this region. We have excellent references, and our environmental impact studies show minimal disruption to local ecosystems. Mr. Morrison, Anna's voice took on the tone Lou recognized from her business background, polite but absolute. I appreciate Meridian's interest in the property. However, Red Barn Orchard will remain a working orchard. Period. After the Meridian representatives left, Lou found Anna in the orchard's eastern section, sitting quietly among the apple trees her parents had planted 40 years earlier. She looked smaller somehow, overwhelmed by the weight of the decision she'd just made. $3 million, Lou said, settling on a tree stump beside her wheelchair. $3.2 million. That's a lot of money. Not really. Not for what they're asking me to give up. Lou studied Anna's profile as she looked out over the orchard. It's enough money to buy any property you wanted. Enough to rebuild this exact orchard somewhere else, probably with money left over. But it wouldn't be this orchard. It wouldn't be the land my parents chose, the trees they planted, the place where they built their life together. Anna, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. All right. Can you afford to keep this place? I don't mean emotionally or sentimentally. I mean practically, financially. Can you afford the property taxes on $3.2 million of assessed value? Can you afford the ongoing costs of maintaining a working orchard that might never generate significant revenue? Anna was quiet for a long moment. I can afford it. That's not what I asked. Anna turned to face him directly. Yes, Luz. I can easily afford the property taxes, the maintenance costs, and any improvements we want to make. The revenue from the orchard is irrelevant to my decision to keep it. Then why are you considering the sale? I'm not considering the sale. I'm considering whether keeping the orchard is fair to you. Lou felt confusion wash over him. What do you mean? I mean that you've invested months of work in this place. You've built a relationship with Emma and Jake. Developed plans for expanding your business around the property maintenance contract. If I keep the orchard for sentimental reasons, you benefit from my decision. If I sell it, you lose work. Connections that could have changed your family's future. You're worried about being fair to me? I'm worried about making decisions based on my emotional attachment to this place, when those decisions significantly impact other people's lives. Lou stared at Anna, understanding finally hitting him. You think I want you to sell? I think you should want me to sell. $3 million would allow me to buy comparable land elsewhere, establish an equivalent orchard, and provide Santiago Construction with a development contract that would be worth significantly more than maintaining this property. And you'd be willing to do that? Anna's expression was serious, almost sad. If it was the right decision for everyone involved, yes. Lou stood up, walking between the apple trees they'd spent months nursing back to health. He thought about Morrison's offer, about the economic development it represented, about the opportunities it might create for local contractors. Then he thought about Emma and Jake learning carpentry under these trees, about Anna's stories of her parents' dreams, about the satisfaction of preserving something meaningful instead of replacing it with something profitable. Anna, I want to show you something. He led her to the farmhouse, to the kitchen where her parents' wedding photograph still sat on the counter. Lou picked up the picture, studying the young couple's hopeful faces. What do you see when you look at this? My parents. Their wedding day. I see two people who chose to build something together instead of taking the easy path. Your father could have kept working at the grain elevator, saved money, eventually bought a house in town with a small yard. Your mother could have married someone with better financial prospects, someone who could have given her security without the risk of farming. Anna nodded slowly, but they chose this. They chose the uncertainty of buying land and planting trees and building something that might fail. They chose it because some things matter more than the safe choice. Lou set the photograph down carefully. Morrison's offer is the safe choice. It's good money for you, and it would probably create work for me, but it's not the right choice. How can you be sure? Because I've seen what we can build together when we're working toward something meaningful instead of something profitable. Because I've watched Emma and Jake discover that they can create things with their hands. Because preserving what your parents built matters more than replacing it with another subdivision. Anna was quiet for a long moment, tears gathering in her eyes. Even if it means turning down more money than most people see in a lifetime? Especially then. Some things are worth more than money, Anna. This orchard, what it represents, what we're building here together, that's worth preserving. And if I asked you to help me do something bigger than just preserve it? What do you mean? Anna took a deep breath. What if I told you I want to make Red Barn Orchard a demonstration site for sustainable agriculture? What if I want to establish educational programs for kids like Emma and Jake, workshops for adults interested in farming, apprenticeships for young people who want to learn traditional skills? Lou felt excitement building in his chest. That would be incredible. It would also require significant investment, ongoing financial commitment, and a partner who understands both construction and education. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you a partnership in something that could matter for generations. Lou looked around the farmhouse kitchen, imagining it filled with students learning about agriculture and craftsmanship, envisioning workshops in the renovated barn, picturing Emma and Jake as young adults bringing their own children to learn traditional skills. Anna, that sounds like exactly the kind of work I want to spend the rest of my life doing. Anna smiled through her tears. Then we should call Mr. Morrison and tell him his offer has been declined permanently. Are you sure? I'm sure that some things matter more than profit margins. I'm sure that what we can build together is worth more than what we could sell separately. Lou leaned down and kissed Anna softly, tasting tears and hope and the promise of futures neither of them had imagined when they'd first met over storm damage and repair estimates. I love you, Anna Mercer. Billionaire, orchard owner, and everything in between. I love you too, Luis Santiago, and I can't wait to see what we build together. The engagement ring had belonged to Lou's grandmother, a simple gold band with a small diamond that caught the late afternoon sunlight as Lou knelt among the apple trees Anna's parents had planted. It wasn't an expensive ring, wouldn't compare to anything Anna could afford for herself, but it represented something money couldn't buy. Genuine love offered without calculation or agenda. Anna Catherine Mercer, Lou said, his voice steady despite the nervousness in his chest. Will you marry me? Anna stared at the ring, then at Lou's face, her expression shifting from surprise to joy to something deeper than either emotion. Are you sure? She asked softly. Are you sure you want to marry someone whose life is inevitably complicated by money, by business obligations, by a history that doesn't match yours? I'm sure I want to marry you. The woman who teaches her grandchildren to value work over wealth, who sees potential in broken things, who chose to rebuild an orchard when she could have built an empire. Even knowing that married to me means your life will never be simple? Lou thought about the Forbes magazine article, about Morrison's offer, about the layers of complexity that came with loving someone whose resources could solve almost any problem, but created entirely new categories of challenges. Anna, my life stopped being simple the day my wife died and left me to raise a teenager alone. It got more complicated when I made the investment that destroyed Maya's college fund. It became something else entirely when I answered your classified and met a woman who makes me want to build something meaningful again. Luis, I'm not asking to marry your bank account or your business connections or your ability to solve my problems. I'm asking to marry the woman who spent 6 months working beside me to save her parents' legacy. The woman who saw value in teaching Emma patience and Jake confidence. The woman who loves me enough to let me choose her freely instead of choosing what she could provide. Anna's tears were falling freely now, but her smile was radiant. Yes, 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 I will marry you. Yes, I want to build something together that honors both our histories. Yes, I want to spend whatever years I have left, proving that the best partnerships are built on shared values, not shared circumstances. Lou slipped the simple gold band onto Anna's finger, then lifted her hands to his lips to kiss her palm. The ring looked right there, not flashy or expensive, but real, permanent, a symbol of commitment rather than status. I love you, he said. Simply, I love you too. And Luis, your grandmother had excellent taste in jewelry. That evening, they called Maya with the news. Her squeal of delight was audible through the phone speaker as Anna held the device between them. Are you serious? You're really getting married? We're really getting married, Anna confirmed, grinning at Lou's expression of mixed happiness and terror. Oh my God, this is amazing. When? Where? Can I help plan everything? Are you having a big wedding or something small? Are Emma and Jake going to be in the wedding party? Slow down, Mia. Lou laughed. We just got engaged an hour ago. But you've been thinking about it for weeks, right? I mean, it's been obvious to everyone that you two were meant for each other. Anna raised an eyebrow at Lou. Everyone? Emma told me last month that Grandma Anna looked at Uncle Lou the same way princesses look at princes in fairy tales. And Jake asked his mom if you two were going to get married so he could keep learning carpentry on weekends. What did Sarah tell him? That grown-ups are slow about figuring out obvious things, but that sometimes patience pays off. After they hung up with Maya, Anna called Emma and Jake's parents to share the news. Sarah's reaction was enthusiastic support mixed with practical questions about wedding planning and family dynamics. Emma's response was pure excitement about being in a wedding. Jake wanted to know if this meant Uncle Lou would officially be his grandfather now. Not officially, Anna explained gently. But Uncle Lou loves you and Emma like grandchildren, and that's what really matters. Can I still call him Uncle Lou? You can call him whatever feels right to you. Cool. Can we build something special for the wedding? Like a gazebo or something? Lou grinned at Anna. I think we can arrange that. Sunday afternoon brought an impromptu celebration at the orchard. Maya drove out from town with groceries for an engagement dinner. Emma and Jake arrived with their parents and a carefully wrapped gift they'd made together, a wooden picture. frame decorated with carved apples and painted hearts, designed to hold Anna and Lou's engagement photo. "We made it in art class," Emma explained proudly. "Jake did the carving, and I did the painting. Ms. Rodriguez helped us with the design." "It's perfect," Anna said, examining their work with genuine appreciation. "We'll treasure this." As they prepared dinner together in the farmhouse kitchen, Lou found himself watching the easy interaction between his soon-to-be wife and the children, who were about to become his step-grandchildren. Anna moved between cooking tasks and conversation, with the fluid grace of someone comfortable in her role as family matriarch, while Emma and Jake included Lou in their discussions with the casual acceptance of someone who'd always belonged. "Uncle Lou," Jake said as he helped set the table, "when you and Grandma Anna get married, will you live here all the time?" "We haven't figured out all the details yet," Lou replied. "But I'll be here a lot more than I have been." "Good, because I want to learn how to build a real treehouse, and Grandma Anna says you're the best teacher for that kind of project." After dinner, while Emma and Jake played with the wooden toys Lou had carved for them over the months, the adults sat on the farmhouse porch discussing wedding plans and future arrangements. "I want something simple," Anna said. "Family and close friends here at the orchard. Maybe in the spring when the trees are blooming." "How simple?" Sarah asked. "Because knowing you, Mom, simple could mean anything from 20 people to 200. 20 sounds about right. Lou, what do you think?" Lou looked out over the orchard they'd rebuilt together, imagining it in spring bloom, full of family and friends celebrating their marriage under the trees Anna's parents had planted. "I think this is exactly the right place to start our marriage, where everything began for us." "And after the wedding?" Maya asked. "Are you keeping the apartment in town, Dad?" Lou and Anna had discussed this question several times without reaching a definitive answer. A farmhouse was large enough for both of them, but Lou worried about the practical implications of moving from his modest apartment to a property worth millions of dollars. "We're thinking about building a workshop addition to the farmhouse," Anna said. "Something that would give Lise proper workspace while keeping Santiago construction based here at the orchard." "What about the architectural plans you showed me?" Maya asked. "The ones for the commercial workshop downtown?" "Those plans might be perfect for the orchard addition," Lou said, "modified for residential zoning and integrated with the existing buildings." "So Santiago construction would be based here?" "Santiago construction would become part of the orchard operation," Anna explained. "Maintenance and improvement for this property, but also educational programs, workshops for traditional building skills, apprenticeship opportunities for young people interested in construction trades." Maya's expression shifted to understanding and admiration. "You're creating a teaching facility." "We're creating a place where people can learn skills that matter," Lou said. "Where kids like Emma and Jake can discover that they're capable of building things that last, and where adults can learn traditional crafts that are disappearing," Anna added. "Woodworking, stonework, basic farming skills, sustainable building techniques." "It sounds incredible," Sarah said. "Emma would love that kind of program." "Emma and Jake would be our first students," Anna confirmed. "But we hope to eventually serve families throughout the region." As the evening wound down and families prepared to leave, Lou found himself on the porch with Anna, watching the sun set over their orchard, their future, their shared vision of something meaningful they could build together. "Are you ready for all this?" Anna asked quietly. "Marriage, step-grandchildren, running educational programs, being partner to someone whose life involves complications you haven't experienced?" Lou considered the question seriously. 6 months earlier, he'd been a struggling contractor worried about making rent and paying for his daughter's college education. Now he was engaged to a woman worth hundreds of millions of dollars, planning to establish educational programs on a property that developers wanted to buy for more money than he'd earn in several lifetimes. "I'm ready to build something meaningful with someone I love," he said finally. Everything else is just logistics. Anna smiled and took his hand, her simple engagement ring catching the last rays of sunset. I think your grandmother would have liked me. I think Maria would have loved you. And I think my parents would have been proud to see their son marry someone who values the same things they valued. Family, hard work, building something that lasts longer than you do. Speaking of things that last, Anna said, pulling a manila envelope from beside her wheelchair, I have something for you. Lou opened the envelope to find legal documents, partnership papers for the orchard operation, business registration, for the educational programs they'd discussed, and property ownership documents that made him joint owner of Red Barn Orchard. Anna, I can't accept. You're not accepting charity. You're accepting partnership in something we're building together, something that needs both of us to succeed. Lou studied the documents, seeing his name paired with Anna's on legal papers that represented more security than he'd ever imagined. Possible. Are you sure about this? I'm sure that what we're building here is bigger than either of us individually. I'm sure that marriage means true partnership. And I'm sure that Red Barn Orchard's future depends on having someone who understands both its history and its potential. Lou set the papers aside and pulled Anna into his arms, holding her close as stars began to appear over the countryside. They now own together. Thank you, he whispered against her hair, for trusting me with this, for trusting me with everything. Thank you for seeing the possibilities I was too afraid to imagine alone. As they sat together on the porch of the farmhouse they would soon share, surrounded by the orchard they were transforming into something beyond what Anna's parents could have envisioned, Lou felt a contentment he hadn't experienced since Maria's death. He was home. They were home. And they were just beginning to build the life they would create together. 6 months later, Red Barn Orchard bloomed with more than apple blossoms. The wedding day dawned clear and warm, with the kind of perfect spring weather that made believing in new beginnings feel like the most natural thing in the world. Lou stood under the wooden arch he built with Emma and Jake's help, watching guests arrive for the ceremony that would make Anna officially his wife. The guest list was exactly what they'd planned. 20 people who mattered most to both of them, gathered in the orchard where their love story had taken root. Maya walked down the aisle first, radiant in her role as maid of honor, her engineering, textbooks temporarily forgotten in favor of wedding logistics she'd managed with typical precision. She winked at Lou as she took her place, and he felt Maria's presence in his daughter's joy, in her obvious approval of the woman who'd brought happiness back into their family. Emma followed as flower girl, scattering apple blossom petals with the serious concentration she brought to all important tasks. Jake marched behind her as ring bearer, carrying Lou's grandmother's ring and the new wedding band. Anna had chosen simple gold that matched his grandmother's design perfectly. Anna appeared at the top of the aisle. Lou felt his breath catch. She wore a simple cream-colored dress that managed to be both elegant and practical, appropriate for a woman marrying in the orchard, where she'd spent months working beside the man she loved. Sarah pushed Anna's wheelchair with gentle pride, and Lou could see Anna's parents in her daughter's careful attention to this moment that honored their legacy. The ceremony itself was brief and heartfelt. Pastor Williams from Cedar Bluff Community Church kept his remarks focused on partnership, on building something together that honored both past and future. When Anna and Lou exchanged vows they'd written themselves, there wasn't a dry eye among their small gathering. Luis, Anna said, her voice clear and strong, you came to my orchard to fix storm damage, but you ended up rebuilding much more than broken fences and damaged trees. You showed me that the best partnerships are built on shared values rather than shared circumstances. You taught me that integrity is the foundation of everything worth building. And you proved that love found later in life can be just as deep and lasting as love found early. Lou's vows were simpler, but no less heartfelt. Anna, you taught me That second chances are real, that some things are worth preserving even when they seem broken beyond repair. You showed me that accepting help doesn't diminish my worth, and that offering love doesn't require guarantees. You gave me back this hope I thought I'd lost forever, and you've made our future something I can't wait to build. When Pastor Williams pronounced them husband and wife, Lou kissed Anna under the apple trees her parents had planted, surrounded by the family they'd created together and the community they were building at Red Barn Orchard. The reception was held in the renovated barn, where tables decorated with apple blossoms and Emma's handmade centerpieces created an atmosphere of rustic elegance. Tommy Reeves, serving as master of ceremonies, kept his remarks appropriately brief and appropriately embarrassing, sharing stories of Lou's transformation from grumpy widower to love-struck contractor that had everyone laughing. Maya's toast was more serious. 6 months ago, my father was a man carrying too much responsibility and not enough hope. Anna didn't just fall in love with him. She saw possibilities in our family that we'd stopped seeing in ourselves. She taught us that accepting help is sometimes the bravest thing you can do, and that love is always worth the risk of vulnerability. To Anna and Dad, may your partnership be as strong as the foundation you've built for all of us. As the afternoon progressed, Lou found himself watching the easy interaction between their combined families. Emma and Jake had appointed themselves official wedding photographers, documenting every moment with the intense focus they brought to important projects. Maya spent most of the reception deep in conversation with Sarah about engineering school and career planning, the kind of mentoring relationship Anna had quietly facilitated. Anna's lawyer, Richard Chun, surprised everyone by proving to be an accomplished pianist, providing music for the dancing that followed dinner. Lou and Anna's first dance was to At Last, a choice that felt both obvious and perfect for a couple who'd found love when they'd stopped looking for it. As evening approached and guests began to leave, Emma and Jake presented their wedding gift, a wooden sign they'd carved and painted for the entrance to the orchard. Red Barn Orchard, growing together since 1952, included both Anna's parents' names and the new date, marking Anna and Lou's marriage. It's for the front gate, Jake explained seriously, so everyone knows this is a place where good things grow. It's perfect, Anna said, hugging both children. We'll put it up first thing tomorrow. After the last guests departed, Lou and Anna sat on the farmhouse porch, still in their wedding clothes, watching the sun set over their orchard, their home, their shared future. How does it feel to be married to a billionaire? Anna asked with gentle humor. How does it feel to be married to a contractor who still can't quite believe his luck? Like the beginning of something extraordinary. Lou reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small wrapped package. I have something for you. Anna unwrapped it carefully to reveal a wooden apple carved with the same attention to detail Lou brought to all his work. But this apple was special hollow inside. It opened to reveal a small compartment containing soil from the orchard. So no matter where we travel or what we build, we carry this place with us, Lou explained. Anna cradled the carved apple in her hands, understanding immediately the sentiment behind the gift. Luis, it's beautiful. It's perfect. I have something for you too, Anna said, reaching beside her wheelchair for a manila envelope that had become their traditional method of exchanging important documents. Lou opened it to find architectural drawings, detailed plans for the workshop expansion they'd discussed, but also blueprints for additional buildings, a classroom facility, student dormitories, a demonstration farm, and what looked like a small conference center. Anna, this is the Red Barn Orchard Educational Center. Full accreditation for traditional building arts, sustainable agriculture, and rural community development. Partnership with State University's Extension Program. Scholarships for students who might not otherwise have access to this kind of education. Lou studied the plans with growing amazement. The design integrated seamlessly with the existing orchard, preserving the agricultural character while creating facilities that could serve hundreds of students annually. This must have cost. This represents the best use I can imagine for money I never needed to begin with. Luis, what if we could create something here that changes how young people think about work and purpose? What if we could show them that building things with their hands, growing food, preserving traditional skills, what if we could make those paths as respected and valued as college degrees? Lou looked at his new wife, seeing in her face the same vision that had driven her to build Heartland Distribution from nothing. But this time, the business plan was about creating opportunities rather than generating profit. How long have you been planning this? Since the day I watched you teach Jake to use a hand drill and saw his face light up with the pride of creating something real. Lou set the architectural plans aside and took Anna's hands in his. I love you, Mrs. Santiago. I love you too, Mr. Santiago, and I can't wait to see what we build together. 1 year later, Lou stood in the same spot where he'd first surveyed storm damage at Red Barn Orchard. But now he was watching Emma, Jake, and 12 other students learn timber framing. Techniques from a master craftsman Anna had brought in from Vermont. The workshop facility hummed with activity teenagers learning traditional joinery, adults practicing stonework, families attending weekend seminars on sustainable living. Maya, home from her sophomore year at State University, was documenting the educational programs for her engineering design project, creating plans for expanding similar centers throughout rural America. She'd chosen agricultural engineering as her specialty, inspired by Anna's integration of traditional methods. With innovative approaches, the orchard itself flourished beyond anything Anna's parents could have imagined. The original apple trees they'd planted had been joined by new varieties, demonstration plots for sustainable growing methods, and beehives that provided both honey and pollination services. What had once been a small family farm had become a working laboratory for rural sustainability. Santiago construction had grown as well, but thoughtfully. Lou now employed 8 full-time craftsmen and twice that number of seasonal workers, mostly graduates of the Red Barn educational programs, who'd chosen to stay in the region and build careers around traditional skills. They took on projects throughout the state restoration work, sustainable building projects, and consultation for other communities wanting to establish similar educational facilities. But the real measure of their success, Lou reflected as he watched Jake confidently demonstrate mortise and tenon joinery to a group of visiting students, wasn't in the business growth or the program expansion. It was in the transformation of lives, young people discovering capabilities they'd never imagined, adults finding purpose in work that connected them to something larger than themselves, families learning that prosperity could be built on foundations other than pure financial accumulation. Penny for your thoughts, Anna said, rolling up beside him in the chair she'd upgraded to handle the rougher terrain of the expanded facility. Just thinking about how far we've come from that first classified. Add regrets? Lou looked around the orchard where Emma was teaching younger students to identify different apple varieties, where Maya was interviewing craftsmen about the intersection of traditional skills and modern technology, where Anna coordinated 3 different educational programs with the same calm efficiency she'd once brought to managing a nationwide distribution network. Not a single one, he said honestly. Well, maybe one small regret. What's that? I should have answered your classified ad sooner. Anna laughed, the sound carrying across the orchard where dozens of people were learning skills that would last lifetimes, building futures that honored the past while embracing possibilities Anna's parents could never have envisioned. Luis Santiago, she said, taking his hand and squeezing it gently. Some things are worth waiting for. As the afternoon sun slanted through the apple trees they'd saved and the new ones they'd planted together, Lou couldn't argue with that wisdom. Some things, the best things, were indeed worth waiting for. And some gifts, he'd learned, came disguised as classified ads in small-town newspapers, offered by women who understood that the most valuable investments couldn't be measured in dollars, but in the lives they transformed and the legacies they preserved. Red Barn Orchard was growing more than apples now. It was growing dreams, opportunities, and the kind of deep-rooted hope that could withstand any storm.